Hello everyone, welcome back to Allcarnews, and we are here with one of the hottest new three-row luxury SUVs on the market, the 2024 Lexus TX. And I think this is the best TX, and probably the only TX I would personally recommend buying, the 550h Plus, which means it's a plug-in hybrid. That means it's one of the only plug-in hybrid luxury three-row SUVs in the entire US market, right alongside one of its main rivals, the Volvo XC90 Recharge. But I have to say, this TX is not only, I think, a little bit bigger than that Volvo, it also has a lot more modern features and a wonderful plug-in hybrid system that returns great fuel economy both in its regular hybrid modes, in EV modes, and just day-to-day driving. And it's also the first true three-row SUV from Lexus that's not a dedicated off-roader. It's dedicated to your space, to hauling passengers around, cargo room, and overall just on-road driving experience. And I've honestly really enjoyed driving it over the past week. While the looks may not be my personal favorite thing on the market, it's a super comfortable SUV with a lot of features, again, a lot of space, and a really impressive plug-in hybrid powertrain. Let's go dive in and check out this all-new 2024 Lexus TX and see how I have been living with it over the past week. So what do we have here in this TX 550h Plus? Well, it's a lot, so you might want to sit down here. Up front, we have a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6 engine. Now, we also have two electric motors in the TX. One is paired up front, and the other is powering the rear wheels. And there's no direct connection between this engine and the rear wheels, so that rear wheels is only being powered by a pretty nice and decently powered electric motor, making over 100 horsepower. And all of this is conjoined with an 18.1 kilowatt hour battery pack mounted really low on the floor for increased cargo space as well as a low center of gravity. Now, this whole system combined is making around 404 horsepower, which is a pretty impressive number. And we also are getting up to 33 miles of electric only range on the battery pack. And day-to-day driving, when you're in your hybrid modes, you're going to see around 28 to 30 miles per gallon, which is also a very impressive figure. And I have seen that myself in driving this thing around town, and it has plenty potent power numbers as well. Now, what about charging performance? Like I said, we have an 18.1 kilowatt hour gross battery pack there, and we can get around 33 miles of range. So on our passenger side here, we have our charging port door, which we can open up right here. Pretty simple, and it charges in around 3.5 to 4.5 hours, depending on what state of charge you are, if you are plugged into a level 2 charger at a rate of around 6.6 kilowatts maximum. That is the highest input of this onboard charger here. So it's pretty not too bad there. I haven't really had any issues charging it. And of course, you can charge it with the charge button on the inside of the vehicle while you're driving with the gas engine. So what are we looking at here on the outside? Well, as we all know, this is essentially a Toyota Grand Highlander that has been Lexusified, and they've done a really good job at Lexusifying it. From the side angle, it does kind of look like a Grand Highlander, I won't lie, but most of the body panels are unique to the Lexus. Of course, we have unique underpinnings as well. They kind of did some unique stuff with the suspension system on the TX, and there is a lot of unique visual and design components, way more sound insulation, way more luxury, and even unique powertrains like this TX 550h Plus. Up front here, we have a similar Lexus style spindle face design, kind of just have this general spindle design language now. If I'm going to be completely honest, it's not my most favorite Lexus design language right now. I just got out of the new Lexus RX, and I quite prefer that design a little bit more than this TX. Some features out here just don't look super high-end, especially for this $82,000 price point, especially with this lower area here. We do thankfully have Corian LED fog lights as well. They look nice in person when you're using them, but I just don't think this particular panel looks very flattering, though you can see how gorgeous this paint color is when the sunlight right now in this Nightfall Mica blue. It's really gorgeous looking. We also have these gigantic LED headlights up here. We have a huge Lexus daytime running light element up there, as well as our main beam over here. I honestly wish these were a little brighter at night. They are not the brightest headlights I have experienced, especially for a large SUV like this one. This one essentially is almost the fully loaded luxury spec of the TX. We also have these honestly massive 22-inch sheen gray style finished wheels here for this TX luxury spec. They do actually look quite nice, I will say. We're rocking Continental rubber around here. These are, I believe, are all-season tires. You can see some nice tread on them. Really good tires, pretty quiet, honestly. And we have some really large brakes hiding behind these wheels as well, with equally large calipers. If you go for the F Sport performance model, you're going to get a little bit more of a performance-y setup and look for your TX. And out back of the TX is also a pretty subtle design language. We have a long light bar back here with the Lexus logo spelled out. You can kind of see a little bit more of the body lines of the TX in this sunlight over here, which tries to give it a little bit more style. And this is a really huge trunk space. Of course, we have a lot of power options. Let's see if the kick to open actually works on this one. It's working. Awesome. So as you can see, we have a full powered tailgate back here with that kick to open function. And we have up to, I think, 97 cubic feet of cargo space when you fold the third and second row down, which is really impressive on the TX. Let's go see what it looks like back here. And now we can see how much space the TX has back here. We have this nice carpeted mat back here that says Lexus on it. You can lift it up, and you also have a little bit of an understorage tray, which appears to have like a towing jack, as well as a cargo cover back there. And it looks like an air compressor. I don't believe there is a spare on the TX. Let's do a quick check. No spare on the TX whatsoever. And we do have power folding third row seats, which is pretty easy to fold down. You have buttons on this left-hand side here, and all you have to do are press the two buttons down, and the seats are just power folding down just like that for you. Really easy of an operation as well. Now, I believe you do have to fold this second row seats down yourself, though that is not that most difficult of an operation whatsoever, and that unlocks you that full cargo space. Okay guys, sitting back here in the third row now, we may not have the seats down, and you can see I could fit here perfectly, and we still have that second row to fold down as well. Third row passengers though do get pretty nice amenities back here. Each passenger back here will get a USB-C port, as well as a little bit of a grip handle to get in and out. They have adjustment to recline their third row seat if they would like to, 2 cup holders, and a nice big rear window as well to kind of give you a lot of space. We also have a little bit of an air vent up here as well as an LED light. But as you can note in this particular TX, we don't have a panoramic roof option, so you just have a large dark roof up here that's not really letting in any more light, which I think would really help to open up this cabin a little bit more. Now to fold the seat flat, we have 2 different operations here. We have to pull this lever first, which will fold that part down, and then we can press this second lever to fold the seat completely flat. Now we have almost a perfectly flat floor in the back to kind of load things in. You can just see how far back I can even scooch back into the TX, lay down perfectly fine. This is a huge amount of cargo space in here. Now, what about getting into the third row as a passenger? That's a pretty much of an easier process, I think, than folding the seats down. All you have to do is press this little button up here. The seat should fold down like that. You can pull it forward a little bit, and now you have this little bit of a walk space and a little bit of a grab handle here to get in. And I'm gonna hop inside. And once you are in these rear seats, you have a lot of room, honestly. I'm gonna pull the seat back all the way. I am a 6 foot tall adult, and I fit back here perfectly, and I don't feel super cramped. I could actually move this seat forward just a little bit, and the second passenger would still have leg room, but I'm honestly fine back here. Now watch me get out, because it's kind of funny. Press this button, oh boy, pop this seat forward, and you have this grab handle here, which honestly is kind of cool feeling, and you can just hop out. You can see this seatbelt back here actually has its own little holder here, so you don't have it flopping around all over the place, which is a nice touch. And I guess I can use this to hop out as well. Ugh. And it's just that easy. Now, what about space for the second row passengers? Hopping inside is really easy. You have a large step-in area, pretty nice, comfortable seats as well. Let's hop inside, and we're in. It honestly feels like a couch back here. I actually have the window open right now, apologies, but you can see we have this sunshade up here. It's a manual operation, but pretty big sunshade, and we have a huge rear door back here. I have loads of foot space in this second row, and I could even move it up a little bit more if I wanted to give my third row passengers some space, though you can see there it kind of gets a little bit more cramped. Fully back, not too bad though, and I can recline it fully back as well. See how far that goes back there if I want some more back space and I don't have any third row passengers back there. Door panels are okay of a material, a lot of just plastic, although we do have this kind of leather insert here, one of our Mark 11s and audio speakers, electronic door handle releases, and there's some subtle ambient lighting in here, though it's nothing too advanced. We have a lock and unlock switch back here, as well as a window switch as well. We have some storage cubbies behind the seats up here, which are pretty tight, not too big of a space. You can see we have one on this side as well. We also do get heated and ventilated second row seats back here, which are a fantastic luxury feature. Our own climate system back here and direction as well. 2 USB-C ports, a 120 volt power outlet back here, which is nice, and a little bit of a storage cubby space. Though what's really cool is this center console area here, which you can see fits both of my cups there, but this center console area actually can be removed. So you have these little unlock buttons here. You can take them out and get rid of them. If you want to put this one in the center and prioritize one cup, you can do that as well. I think there are other accessories you can pop into these little utility areas here, which are pretty cool, and also they fit and work really well. You can kind of put them wherever you want, and no issues there whatsoever. I also like how this thing is designed. We also have these nice armrests over here. And the best part about this thing is that you can remove it so easily. If you want to have some more space in this center row, literally just pop it out with that switch there. And it weighs like maybe 5, 6, 7 pounds. It's just a piece of plastic. You can pop it right there, and you can put it right in the trunk actually if you don't want to see it anymore. And then you have this little rugged area to kind of walk through if you want to have your kids walk into the third row really easily. It's a little bit of a small space. I wouldn't recommend adults doing it, but it is possible. And if you want to pop this thing back in here, you literally just put it in and it locks into place just like that. Love that feature, Lexus. Okay guys, getting into the front of the TX, like on all new Lexuses these days, we have these electronic digital door handles here. So you can see, I can't open them, but a little press unlocks them pretty easily. We also have one touch press to lock on all 4 doors, which is a nice touch. But again, opening up pretty easy. We see our mirrors unfold and we can hop inside. Same treatment on the door panels as we saw back there, though we just have a larger Mark Levinson speaker over here. Pretty okay materials. I wish they could have done something a little bit more fancier. We have an aluminum side sill plate here that says Lexus and a whole bunch of controls for our seats, which is wonderful, as well as a power thigh support here, which I really love. An interesting seat design. I have to say the second row seats are really comfortable. They feel couch-like. These also feel a little couch-like in the lower cushion area, though I don't think they have enough support on the side bolsters here, which should be okay for some people who are a little bit on the wider end. I like to be a little more tugged in my seats, so I like an F Sport seat personally. This is the luxury line, so we're not getting aluminum paddles or anything, but I believe you should get all-weather floor mats, especially if you're going to be hauling kids around all the time. Let's hop inside. Nice solid door thunk here, and we are in this new Lexus cockpit that we can see across the entirety of the Lexus's lineup in these days. And let's power on this beast. Comes to life pretty easily. And we can have a nice look at this in-cabin over here. So now that we have the vehicle on, if you guys haven't checked out my recent RX review, you're going to see a very familiar interface here, and it's pretty much all the same complaints I have there. On this luxury line, though, we do get unique features like this steering wheel here. It's just fully leather wrapped. Honestly, it's a very nice feeling steering wheel, except for this rear portion here. I think the leather is just like a little bit too tightly bound, and it feels like I can kind of press it around there. Otherwise, that's my only complaint there. We have these touch buttons here that I kind of complained about on other Lexus products, as you can only see them, if you can kind of see that on the heads-up display right there. They kind of are capacitive, and you can press them down as buttons. They do a whole bunch of different things. You have different sub-menus. You can kind of select them. On the right-hand side, we have our driver control systems for our adaptive cruise control, and we can control our different display modes here, because so we can see we have 3 preset display modes. You can cycle through, and if you hold down this display button, I think we hold down this one, you can kind of customize each of these 3 little panels there, which is a nice touch. So you can kind of put different things in here. Better than the other system Lexus had with their smaller display that was in the RX. So this is an improvement, but it's still a little bit cluttered, I would say, on my personal opinion. We have automatic headlights, automatic wipers as well. We also have our driver monitor here as well. It's going to give you some driver attention support. And we have a really cool cockpit style design that Lexus is going with on their all new interiors. I think it's a good design. I don't know though if this infotainment system is good enough of a separation from the Toyota counterpart to kind of make it its own Lexus thing. It's pretty much the same identical software that you can find in new Toyota products. As you can see here, we have it in its largest configuration here. We do have separate climate controls, though they are not just buttons somewhere. They are integrated into the screen here. We do see we can turn on our heat and AC here. We kind of turn these dials to change the temperature pretty easily, which isn't that difficult. We do have a sync mode, and we can see we have our fan speed here, but this is pretty much all of your AC controls. We have heated and ventilated seats. Open up this menu. We have a kind of a quick access menu here, which is frequently used things throughout the infotainment system, from safety systems to heads-up display to your drive modes to a whole bunch of stuff. Or otherwise, we have our climate menu here, which is really just a few different simple settings, nothing too complicated here. Heated steering wheel as well. The screen itself is big. We can only expand it fully in the Lexus navigation system here, so I can press that button to fully expand it out right there. You can see it gets a little bit bigger. It gets a little bit confusing once you start going through the menus. So our vehicle settings, we can see our drive modes. We can actually fold the third row down from here as well, which is a cool touch. We have all of our driver assistance settings as well, which we'll get into in our driving impressions, our trip information as well. So we can see our efficiency in EV mode. If I put it into hybrid mode, we'll see our gas efficiency there. So that's not bad. I was doing a little bit of some hard driving, so I've gotten way better numbers there. Energy flow, we can see what's happening with our complicated drive system, so we have our engine, our 2 motors here, as well as our battery pack. We can see if it's charging or not, which is a cool touch. We also have our charging schedule. We can see what's happening with the all-wheel drive system with the Direct4 tire pressure and some vehicle alert settings. And our actual settings here, it gets a little bit more complicated going through Bluetooth devices. We also have our vehicle customized settings here. We can change our heads-up display, different meters here, so we can actually have one single gauge here, or if I go to this type 2, it will change it so we have a traditional style gauges. We can also have it display a tachometer. So if you want to have a tachometer instead of the hybrid electric meter there, we can have that as well. So there is a lot of customizability with these new gauges. So I will thank Lexus for doing that, particularly because I think it's a nice amount of customizations you can have there. And we also have our EV indicator. We have light controls. Oh, there's a whole bunch of customization here. Now, my one complaint is with the ambient lighting here. So you can only use it when you're in park, not even in drive, not even in auto hold. That's when you can change your ambient light color. And I appreciate Lexus for having so many different options here. But what I don't appreciate them is giving us no ambient lighting in this interior. It only shows up right here in the door cards and in our footwell. That's about it. Same thing back here. It's really just in the door card area. We're going to see the ambient lighting. There's nothing on the dash. There's nothing in the center console. There's nothing up here. The RX had a lot more ambient lighting, and I think for $80,000+ it should have more, especially with modern day vehicles having all these crazy ambient lighting. I think a lot of customers are looking for that. Even just having the option of that would be nice. But now down here we have our buttons for our parking camera here, so we can actually have an auto park feature in the Lexus TX, which is a great function. It actually does work pretty well. We also have our 360-degree view camera system. When I put it into drive, it really unlocks a much better display of what's going on there. We have fantastic parking sensors and cameras on the TX. I think Lexus and Toyota are doing really fantastic systems here. You can kind of see how it turns into that style over there. Even when I'm reversing, we have a full 360-degree view system there. Let's see if I'm going to hit my tripod, if it can find it there. It might not see it because it's a small object. Oh, it does see it. Look at that. So pretty good detection there with objects, even people and animals as well. It does really good object detection as well. Really impressive stuff there. Now, this is an interesting center console over here. It's a unique space. I don't think it's the best put together out of the Lexus products. It's a little bit flimsy, I would have to say, unfortunately. I can kind of move it around a little bit. And I'm not really liking this wireless charging setup. Sometimes my phone will shake back and forth. It's a little bit grippy here, but you can actually move this entire tray forward, which unlocks a little bit of some cargo space. We have 3 USB-C ports up here, which is really impressive. But I'm not the biggest fan of this cargo tray here. I wish they could have implemented this a little bit better. We also find these unique cup holders that we saw in the rear seats up front as well, so we can kind of remove them by pressing this little unlock button here. You can get all of them out of here, have a bigger space, or if you want to pop them, maybe one in the center, you want to prioritize your cup there, you can do that as well. You really pop them in whatever which way you can, and they fit in and out really easily most of the time. There you go. And see that, and my cup fits in there pretty easily as well. We have those nice grips in there, not too bad. And we also have a nice little bit of cubby space here and a very interesting opening center console here. It opens sideways. I don't think I've actually seen this on a vehicle before. This car is so new and it still has the plastic on it. Oh, look at that. I'm gonna leave that there for you guys, Lexus. It's a decent amount of space. I have a whole bunch of camera equipment in here, felt lined. It's just the operating of opening it. It's a little bit weird, and I don't really like how it's cut off here. I think for some drivers, depending on how they're sitting, they won't be able to rest their elbows on here whatsoever, and you can't adjust them forward and back, which is a little bit frustrating. So Lexus, please maybe think about working on this in the future. And this is a fantastic system here, how Lexus and Toyota do their plug-in hybrid system. So we have a hybrid vehicle mode here, which we can put it into. This will drive it as a normal hybrid, like a typical TX hybrid or an RX hybrid, or something you're more familiar with. Then we have an auto mode. So it will decide whether it wants to be an EV mode or a hybrid mode. And then if we press this again, we can go into pure EV mode, and that will just use the battery only and not switch it to any other mode, which is pretty cool, until the battery runs out. If I hold this button down, it will actually activate its charging mode. So it's going to use the engine now to charge the battery. I generally like what's going on over here. I wish this infotainment system was a little bit more Lexus specific, and I guess some materials in here could be a little bit more higher end for this $80,000+ price, but the seats are very comfortable. I like the blend of this like kind of micro suede and the semi-aniline leather, and it's generally a very nice place to be with fantastic driver systems. And once you start driving this thing and its hybrid and EV modes, you're going to forget about everything because it's such a smooth and refined powertrain. So let's go dive into those impressions now. So how is the TX like to drive? Well, you know, you have to remember, this is a really large vehicle at the end of the day, and I think it does itself pretty well with its composure. Before we head off here, I'm going to pop it into sport mode so we can unlock that full 404 horsepower that we have with the system. I'm going to put it into auto, hybrid, electric vehicle mode. We have a tachometer that comes up on our dash here, and we can head off. Pretty potent torque there. Engine kicks on. Whoa! This thing has no issues with getting up to speed. I was really impressed by the amount of performance from this powertrain. Really impressive stuff. It's over 400 horsepower, like I mentioned before. We have that V6 engine, 2 electric motors, and those electric motors are combined making well over 100 horsepower. I think almost around 200 horsepower in total as well. It's pretty impressive, and it really gets you up to speed. And now we're out here on the highway, and this is where the TX is just at home. It is a beast in all areas. So I'm cruising right now in automatic mode. Now I can pop it into EV mode if I wanted to on the highway. So this is pure EV mode. We're only using our 12 miles of electric range I currently have on here. You can get up to 33 when the battery is fully charged. And I have to say, it's my favorite in EV mode. Maybe not on the highway. It's really meant for kind of around city situations, but on the highway, pop it into hybrid mode right here. And this is, I think, where you're gonna get some impressive fuel economy numbers. I have personally seen 29 mpg in hybrid mode on the highway. We're at 26.5 right now, which I've been driving a little bit spiritedly to kind of just demonstrate the capabilities of this TX for you guys. But it is a really efficient SUV, especially a 3-row SUV. So that's really impressive, I have to say here. And you can also put it in auto mode as well if you don't want to have it in hybrid mode. So it'll kind of choose which powertrains to use. And if you hold this button down, you'll put it into charge mode, and that's essentially going to have the engine on at all times. And while the engine's on, it's going to be charging your battery pack, giving you some range if you want to do that. You can see here it's actually steering me back in the lane right now. We have our driver assist systems, we have our curve assist, really fantastic systems, and you just pop it on by pressing this button here, and that's it. We have a driver attention monitor up here watching your eyes, which you can kind of adjust the sensitivity to in the infotainment system, and it does a great job of working as a cruising vehicle on the highway. This must be a fantastic road trip vehicle. I would love to be able to take this on a really long road trip, even cross country. I think it would get fantastic fuel economy and can haul people and cargo around really easily, especially with this Safety Sense 3.0 system. You can see all the different options we have in our settings here: lane departure alert, road sign assist, rear cross traffic alert, blind spot. It's just endless amount of features. And the proactive safety assist, which you can turn on and off, is constantly looking out for you. It's thinking about you in the kind of driving experience, which I think I really like. You can quickly disable it, but if you don't want it. We also have a lane change assist, so I have my lane change assist. It just changed lanes for me. I have to hold the steering wheel to do it, unfortunately, but I did not move it. Trust me on that one. It does change lanes, and at the end of the day, it is an assistant function, not a full autonomous vehicle. Going uphill here, you can hear the engine kick on, and it quietly just washes away into the distance when you let off the accelerator, which is really nice. Now, I do want to talk about the suspension of the TX. So in the F-Sport Performance version of the TX, which with the hybrid performance system, not the plug-in hybrid, you do get an adaptive suspension system, and you also get rear wheel steering. I really wish they would expand the rear wheel steering option to the plug-in hybrid luxury version, because I think that's a luxurious feature at the end of the day, especially in parking lot situations. It shortens the kind of wheelbase of the TX virtually when you turn those rear wheels in the opposite direction to kind of give you a better turning radius, and even on the highway it provides a little bit more stability. I also kind of wish we had the adaptive suspension on the luxury version of the TX as well. This suspension is really plush and comfortable 99% of the time. It's just definitely on the firmer side of luxury suspensions, I would say. Not so much where it's kind of letting jitters into the cabin. It just feels a little more taut. I think they did that to kind of minimize as much body roll as they can while keeping it still in that, on the softer kind of floaty experience. Like cruising in a straight line, it is just really nice. But sometimes you can just move those body movements. There's a lot of body roll by just little steering inputs around the vehicle, and I think that's where that firmness is kind of playing in there. It's a little bit of an unpleasant feeling sometimes, but at the end of the day, this is a large SUV, and it definitely makes it feel a little more truck-like, honestly. And what also feels truck-like is how high you can get in the TX. I just raised my seat up just a little bit, and you feel like you're driving like a Escalade or a Tahoe or something. It's not too far off dimensionally in terms of size-wise of that, but you can really sit like that if you want to, or you can sit pretty low down as well if you want to as well. So you can get that car-like experience in terms of driving, or a full-on truck-like experience here. Now that we're in traffic, we can kind of turn on our cruise control. Again, we have traffic assist, so when you're in low-speed traffic, it will come to a stop and go for you, and it'll go off into a start again just by looking forward. It's tracking your eyes all the time, which is kind of cool. Or you can just press up, or I think just tap the accelerator as well, which is a nice little touch there. Really no complaints with that. We do have paddle shifters if you choose to use them. I'm going to put it into sport mode and demonstrate why you don't want to use them. Might as well put the transmission in sport as well. So I was just like shifting into like 3 different gears, and you don't really hear anything because there's no transmission at the end of the day in this TX. It uses a unique sort of power delivery system. It's sort of a CVT, but it blends with that electric motor and the engine up front as well. It's a unique system, and we have to remember those rear wheels are completely disconnected from the front end of the vehicle in terms of the engine. So those rear wheels are always being driven by that electric motor, which means you will always have charge in this battery. So if you're down on charge with electric charge, I'm going to pop it into hybrid mode now. If you're down on electric charge, that rear motor will always be used because it will kind of just turn into a hybrid, because it can never technically deplete the battery because you need it to power the rear wheels at all times. So it's never going to let those rear wheels go unpowered, which is a nice touch. And of course, when you charge up the battery, you're going to get that full EV driving experience in the TX. And it's also really, really quiet in here. I have to really give Lexus props for the incredible sound insulation on this vehicle, especially at highway speeds, and especially for a boxy vehicle nonetheless. A lot of these boxy vehicles let in a lot of kind of road noise. You hear wind whistling throughout the cabin. This one kind of cancels all of that out for you, which is really fantastic. As you can tell, there's a lot of sound insulation in here because it kind of isolates a lot of cars moving by, wind noise. You have, I think, acoustically laminated glass as well. And since this one doesn't have the panoramic roof, I believe there's a lot of sound insulation up here, because it was raining the other day and I didn't even know it was raining on the roof because I couldn't hear a single drop. Sometimes when you have some lower end vehicles, you kind of hear raindrops hitting the metal on the roof. This one, silent, and I really do appreciate that here on the TX, especially over $80,000 as well. Now, we do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto here on the TX. You can see how large the CarPlay is here, and you can actually expand and contract the CarPlay. I'm going to pop it into our driving safety systems here so I can demonstrate this for you guys real quick. So I can expand and contract it. So right now it's taking up the full screen, but if I press this button here, it's going to minimize CarPlay just a little bit to give you your access panel here to all of your other Lexus functions at all times, which is honestly a really nice touch. Sometimes you have to go back into other CarPlay systems, or especially if this is full screen, you have to go and press Lexus or whatever the brand is to get back into the brand's native infotainment system. But this is a pretty cool touch here if you want to have that side panel always accessible to you at all times. Pretty quick to respond here. Apple Maps is huge, and it will actually display CarPlay navigation in your turn-by-turn directions up there, which is nice. Otherwise, the Lexus navigation system is honestly pretty good. I believe it's a cloud-based navigation system that you do need to subscribe to, I believe. I think it's included with the vehicle for a number amount of time, but you do technically have to like sign up for it, get the app, and be connected with the vehicle to kind of activate all of these functions. Now we're going to come over here into a city-style urban suburban area, and I want to pop it into EV mode to kind of demonstrate just how quiet and easy it is to use while driving around in EV mode. So I'm going to pop it manually into EV mode here. And I'm going to pop up our efficiency here, because you can actually get pretty good efficiency in EV mode if you are smart with your driving experience around here. Now, if you are not someone who's heavy on the pedal, you can get up to 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour in the TX, and I have proof of that. I did it, which is really over like 10 miles actually, which is really impressive for a 4,400 pound plus SUV with not the biggest electric motors either. I see that proactive safety assist now is slowing us down while also regenning the TX as well, which is a nice touch. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this POV Drive review of the Lexus TX. It's been a wonderful week with it. Again, I may not be the biggest fan of the looks, but driving it around, usability-wise, It's a really good vehicle, and I think you need to be getting this TX in this plug-in hybrid form, because this is a unique powertrain to the TX. You can't get it in any of the other Lexus products right now, and not even in the Grand Highlander at all. I don't think it's going to even be an option. So this is a true Lexus TX, and I'm going to put my foot down on that one, and I think this is the one I would buy if I'm shopping for this large 3-row luxury SUV. Anyways, guys, again, thank you for joining me on this POV Drive and review, and as always, stay tuned for more coming on Allcarnews. Cheers.